Okay, say it with me. All together now. Black pain is not treated as human pain.
Today we will hear from Black Americans speaking on Black pain. Check it out.
So my previous speech got taken down for some odd reason, and that's all good, but I'm about to re-record it again because the truth needs to be out there, and we need to stop lying to ourselves and pretending we don't see the pattern when it's right there. It's right there, and everybody knows it, but nobody wants to say it out loud. So when a Latina gets angry, people call it spicy, sexy, ella es una tóxica, right? When a white woman gets angry, oh, poor Sally, oh my gosh, poor her, she's just having such a bad day. Oh my gosh, she must be going through so much. Oh my gosh, poor her. When a white man gets angry, he's stressed, he hit his breaking point, he's having a bad day, it's mental health. But when a black woman gets angry, she's ghetto, she's ratchet, she's loud, she's aggressive, she's masculine, she's too much. When a black man shows anger, hurt, frustration, grief, or pain, now he's violent, now he's dangerous, now he's a threat, now people clutch their bags, people get scared, people cross the street. Now people reach for excuses to justify why they never wanted to understand him in the first place. And do not tell me it's about behavior. Do not tell me it's about tone. Do not tell me it's about how it's expressed, because the same emotions coming out of different bodies get labeled completely differently depending on the skin they're housed in. That is conditioning. That is not a coincidence, and that is not fair. Black pain is not allowed to be human pain in this society. It's only allowed to exist if it's quiet, palatable, digestible, and non-threatening to everybody else's comfort. The second it spills over, the second it raises its voice, the second it stops asking politely to be acknowledged, it gets criminalized, it gets demonized, and people want to talk about anger issues without ever talking about where that anger comes from. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about generations of trauma stacked on top of generations of trauma, stacked on top of generations of trauma, and then pretending the body, the nervous system, the psyche, and the soul are not keeping score. You don't get to enslave people, lynch people, beat people, people, eat people, segregate people, lock people out of resources, destabilize families, over-police communities, undereducate schools, poison neighborhoods, and then turn around and have the fucking audacity to say, why are they so angry? What the fuck do you mean, why are they so angry? That question alone is disrespectful as hell, because anger does not come out of nowhere. Intensity does not come out of nowhere. Pain does not come out of nowhere. What you are seeing is not aggression. You are seeing unprocessed grief. You're seeing suppressed rage. You are seeing pain that never had a safe place to land. And the psychological truth is that when trauma does not get expressed, it does not disappear. It compresses, it hardens, it builds pressure. So when it finally comes out, it does not come out softly, ladies and gentlemen. That is exactly how trauma works. That is not a character flaw. Especially trauma that was never acknowledged, never protected, never held, never understood, never listened to, never given the safe space to express itself healthily, and never healed.
Historically, white people, white children are taught to believe that black suffering is necessary to make them better. I'm going to say that again. White people, specifically white children, are brought up being taught that black suffering is necessary to better them, to make them better people. Black suffering is always taught to them as something that is done for the greater good. They are never taught that Malcolm X or MLK didn't have to die. They'll be taught that killing is wrong, but they're not gonna be taught that their death was unnecessary. And the reason why that is because the way that it's taught is in like some kind of Jesus-esque hero's journey, in which these black people are presented as characters who must go through hardship to better society. They must die. We would not have gotten civil rights if MLK was not killed. Things would not have happened if MLK was not killed. When I tell you guys it is that fucking deep, do you guys remember that video of that young girl when her mother asked her who MLK was and what he did, and the little girl said he died for our sins? Why do you think she rationalized it that way? We are taught that the black and brown suffering that happens is not only the status quo, but it is necessary. A black man has to die for white people to see, oh my God, I don't want to see this anymore. I need to be better. It's not even about the black man being dead. Death is permanent. But what they take out of it is what they do. They get to live. They get to learn the lesson. But in order for them to learn the lesson, we have to bleed. That's what they're taught. Look at the movies where the main character has a black friend. Why do you think that is? It's to prove that the white person is a good person. When they stick up for their black friends against racism, it's to prove that the white person is a good person and that they are accepting. Completely removes the agency and intelligence and will of the black person and what they believe. Them just being there is enough. Them going through harm is a way for the white person to learn the lesson. That's the point. It's been surrounding us this entire time. Of course, they're not going to be as mad about young black boys getting unalived in the streets and black men being treated like animals. They were raised with that. You know what they weren't raised with? The same thing happening to white people. They're never going to feel the same. And before we get started, I'm going to read to you guys a quote from Nancy Pelosi after George Floyd's death. Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice, for being there to call out to your mom. How heartbreaking was that? Call out to your mom, I can't breathe, will always be synonymous with justice. Reminder, George Floyd didn't want to die, and he did not want to sacrifice himself. MLK did not want to die. Malcolm X did not want to die. None of these black historic people wanted to die. And yet they see it as a tool that is necessary for the betterment of their society. A society that you will never get to benefit from because they need you to die to get there.
I think a lot of people think that we're joking when we have the bring back segregation conversation because they don't know how traumatic it is to exist around white people. It is, like, I don't talk about racism a lot, but it is genuinely traumatic dealing with racism, dealing with microaggressions, going in the store, people think you stealing the shit, people watching you and giving you dirty looks. And I lived in a white area and I moved to a black area. It's night and day. It's literally night and day. I remember literally at my job, the managers were black, everybody was black, and I didn't feel like nobody was treating me no type of way. And it's just exhausting as a black person to see that and just to exist around white people and have them constantly gaslighting you or treating you different because of how you look. I'm just tired of not being able to be angry at my literal fucking oppressor. Like, why is it crazy to say I don't want to be around my fucking oppressor? Why is that fucking crazy? I don't know. It's just like the psychological torture of them telling you that you're not allowed to be angry. They want to be racist to you, and they literally enslaved our people, killed our people, raped our people, and they're using the same slurs that they used back then, and we're not even allowed to be angry. Like, I'm tired. I'm so fucking tired. I'm so tired.
In a comment section yesterday, I said I'm tired of being black. And in my DMs, I got conversations of, what does that mean? What do you mean you're tired of being black? And a lot of other people who claim to be allies or who say they're allies of black people, they don't understand that. And I'm not saying black fatigue. I'm saying being black in general. Being black comes with such a heavy responsibility. It also comes with a burden of a past that we can't escape. Being black means to always walk into a room and scan it to make sure someone else is there just in case something happens. Being black is walking into a store and praying that you're not characterized as a thief or a hood rat by the store owner just because of the color of your skin. Being black is going into an interview and praying that your name or the way your hair looks doesn't get you put to the side because they don't know if you're capable of doing the job, even though they've seen your application and know that you're probably overqualified for the position. Being black is always having to apologize for being black. To always know that there's a target on your back. To watch a country who is literally built off the blood and the bones and the tears of your ancestors tell you that you are not worthy enough to be a part of this country, to have a right to use your voice. Being black is hard. It is watching everyone devour your culture and your hairstyles and the way you speak and your art and your inventions, and then tell you that you are not allowed to capitalize off of it, or you're not allowed to say anything because it's not blackness, it's American. See, we're American when everybody wants to steal from us. We're black when no one wants to protect us. No one wants to stand up for us. It's tiring being black. It is tiring having to explain that although I'm proud of being black and I love being black, sometimes being black is exhausting because everybody looks at your blackness as a hindrance until they need your blackness, or they need your black body, or they need your black voice, or they need your black culture so they can rise above the fray.
It is surprising, yet refreshing to hear a young person speak so detailed about the trauma that Black people go through and have gone through for centuries in this land, and nobody ever chose to acknowledge it. As you saw, I got emotional because he was nailing each one of them on the head. During enslavement, it was illegal for those that were enslaved to read. They're only going to give you the language that they want you to have in order to do. Listen, you're going to believe what we tell you. You understand? We even going to give you the slave Bible. These are only passages that you're to read. You see? And so and then after that, you had the Black codes. And then after that, you had Jim Crow. Then after that, you had Civil Rights Movement. It's like we have been with our heads on swivel and having to still swallow everything down and still show up in these jobs where we got a code switch, where we are considered the angry Black woman, like we don't have any reason or rhyme to be angry. Huh? Again, when the Latina, when she's angry, oh, it's spicy. When the white woman, oh my gosh. When the white man, he must have mental illness. And he's stressed out. But we can't be stressed out considering what our white countrymen and women have done to us. This is the first time in my entire life that I have been able to speak up and speak out. And I'm gonna keep doing it. I understand there's some of my white countrymen and women that say they got Black exhaustion. Well, my question is, have you met you? So what you do is normal. What everybody else does is not normal. All we want is love, peace, and happiness, quality of life, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I guess that's only for you. That's not for anybody else. Well, God says differently. And the meek shall inherit the earth. These are the things that I've read. And so, I'm very glad that young man came out and said it. Like I said, I got emotional. I still feel the emotions behind that, and they are justified.
Y'all, so here's a little background about me. So first of all, I know some people be like, what are you? Like, what are you mixed with? So first of all, I am technically mixed. My mother is biracial, half white, half Black. And my dad, he is fully Black. So, boom, let's get into a little story time. I don't really know my white family And it's because they are racist, or they just don't want to accept the fact that they have black family, which is also racist. So back in the day, my mother, she wanted to meet her grandmother and be accepted by them. So mind you, my mom is as light as me. She straightened her hair and everything, and she went to go visit. When she get there, her grandmother seen her, and her grandmother told my grandmother to get that out my house. And she literally said that. So no, I don't know my white family. And I'm honestly okay with it. I love my black culture, my black family. Now, would I want to get to know my white family? Sure, if they are not racist. But I just think that because of older generations, the newer generations do not know about us. So I'm not going to say all of the white side is racist, but I never had a connection with them. So that's just a little story time, a little family background information about me. I do not know my grandmother's side of the family. The only white family member I know is my grandma.
Oprah absolutely needs to come to the carpet. Harpo Studios is responsible for a lot of the bastardization of Black pain. We have allowed Black pain to become for entertainment. And then we sit around and wonder why Black women aren't respected, why we aren't humanized. Show me one person whose life Ayan Levanzant has fixed. Of all of those people who have poured their hearts out, all the generational trauma, family secrets, the despair. They come on seeking healing and the promise of someone fixing their lives. And I haven't seen not one life actually fixed. The only good thing that has come out of Harpo Studios was Queen Sugar. I give Ava DuVernay the credit for that. She is one of the most responsible stewards of Black creativity that our generation has ever seen. And I don't think we recognize or realize what a gift that is. To this day, Oprah has not come out and apologized for Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, and the other parasites that she has unleashed. She unleashed these vile mutants, and then she pops up every now and then to re-release The Color Purple, which no one asked for, or to interview Meghan Markle, or to talk about Weight Watchers. She very irresponsibly wielded her platform and her credibility, and she needs to be held accountable.
Hey family, I got a really good question. If a white lady is angry, people consider her to be sad. Maybe she's having a bad day. Her day's not going so well. If a white man gets angry, he's at his breaking point. Maybe he's had too much. He's stressed. If a Black man gets angry, he's considered violent. Or maybe you clutch your purse. You don't find a way to justify why you can understand this man. It's when a Black female gets angry, she's considered ratchet. She's considered doing too much. Or how to behave. Should this be how we look at each other's pain?
Racism in America was engineered through generations, laws, economics, media, violence, and psychological conditioning. From slavery to Jim Crow, from redlining to mass incarceration. White supremacy has constantly changed uniforms while keeping the same mission, maintaining power and control over Black Americans. For over 240 years, Black people were enslaved in America. Families were separated, names erased, languages stripped, spiritual systems attacked, and human beings treated as property. After slavery officially ended in 1865, freedom did not truly arrive. Instead, came Black codes, convict leasing, lynching, segregation, voter suppression, and racial terrorism. Many historians now acknowledge that convict leasing became slavery by another name, where Black men were arrested for minor offenses and forced into brutal labor camps. This generational trauma did not disappear. Post-traumatic slave syndrome explains how centuries of oppression created lasting psychological and social wounds inside the Black community. When people are subjected to violence, poverty, fear, and systematic humiliation for generations, those effects do not magically vanish because laws change. Trauma gets passed down through behavior, survival instincts, distrust, fear, and even family dynamics. Many Black Americans were forced into survival mode. Some learned silence to stay alive. Some learned dependency on systems that historically oppressed them. Some developed internalized racism from constantly being taught that white was superior and Black was inferior. This is why media representation matters. For generations, television, education systems, movies, and advertisements centered European beauty, European intelligence, and European culture, while portraying Blackness as criminal, dangerous, uneducated, or secondary. This psychological conditioning can also connect to what some describe as Stockholm Syndrome, where oppressed people begin emotionally identifying with the systems or groups harming them. You can see it when people defend structures that historically disadvantage them while attacking their own community more aggressively than the systems causing the damage. Divide and conquer has always been one of the strongest weapons of white supremacy. And white supremacy is not always a man in a white hood. Sometimes it is economic exclusion. Sometimes it is housing discrimination. Sometimes it is underfunded schools. Sometimes it is environmental racism, where toxic facilities are placed near Black neighborhoods. Sometimes it is media propaganda. Sometimes it is algorithms, AI bias, over-policing, prison labor, predatory lending, or voter suppression. Historically, programs like redlining blocked many Black families from home ownership and generational wealth accumulation throughout the 20th century. Meanwhile, the GI Bill was often denied or unequally administered to many Black veterans after World War II. These policies helped create the massive racial wealth gap still discussed today. But throughout all this oppression, Black Americans continued to build. Black Wall Street in Tulsa showed Black economic excellence before racial violence destroyed it during the Tulsa Race Massacre. Black Americans built churches, schools, businesses, music, inventions, military service records, civil rights organizations, and cultural movements that transformed America itself. That is why unity matters. Foundational Black Americans must understand that division weakens collective progress. Political division, class division, street division, regional division, gender wars, and social media manipulation all distract from economic empowerment, education, ownership, and community protection. Getting on code means understanding collective interests and protecting the community strategically. It means supporting Black businesses when possible, educating the next generation about real history, building economic networks, protecting neighborhoods, strengthening families, and refusing to let outside forces constantly divide the community against itself. Unity does not mean agreeing on everything. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. had different strategies, yet both understood that Black Americans face systemic oppression. Real unity means recognizing common interests despite differences. The next generation must understand that white supremacy survives not only through overt racism, but also through confusion, distraction, self-hate, economic dependency, and historical ignorance. Knowledge of self, historical awareness, discipline, and collective action remain essential tools for survival and advancement. Because history shows one thing clearly. Whenever foundational Black Americans united economically, politically, spiritually, and socially, progress followed. And whenever division took over, outside powers benefited from that fragmentation. Tell me what you think about this topic. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Thanks for watching.